Um, let's see. Kind of before we get started, let me welcome you to Myers Park and Event Center. This is a county-owned and operated park. The Extension Service is actually, our office here is a department within the county. So we're part of the county government as well as the state government. And so we have a relationship with the park. Actually, the park has a long history of working with the Extension Service and youth programs out here. The park actually used to be called the Collin County Youth Park until it was named after the family who donated the main portion of the land, which was the Myers family. John and Winnie Myers. They used to live in the little house up on top of the hill that's across the road there. Not the White House, but the 2-story or 3-story that's across the road there. There's a nice young family that live there now. It's right across the street from our garden, so they can look out their window and see all our gardens out front, so they're pretty lucky. But the John and Winnie Myers, they didn't have any children, and they wanted to do something for the youth of Collin County, and so they donated the property to the county, essentially. It's more complicated than that, but they donated the land, and they ensured that it'd be used for the youth. And y'all are all youth, right? That's right. Young at heart. So it helps support the 4-H program, which is an extension program, FFA, which is through the schools, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and more. And so they also do a lot more here at the park. We have our extension events here, Master Gardener events. They have weddings, family reunions. So all the facilities out here can be rented for any type of event. The guy to talk to is Mark Page, who's coming through the door right there in the white shirt and the visor. He's trying to hide. Mark Page is the events coordinator. He's extremely supportive of the Master Gardener program and extension, and he's a good friend. And so we appreciate his support. His boss, I don't think she's here right now, but that's Judy Florence. And Judy Florence is the manager of the park. And I think there's about 5 or 6 crew members, six crew members that work the grounds and help set up events. And so you'll see them from time to time. Sometimes they'll have an event after our class, and so they'll have to break down the room and reset it for the next event. And so, Mark, do you want us to set chairs on the table after class? Yes, please. Yeah, so after class, set your chair on the table. I'm sorry if I misspoke, but that helps the park crew come through and break down the room faster. So, okay. Have you been recording, Marv? Yes. Okay. So we do record all our classes. Marv has it recording, and he'll send out a file to you that will have links to YouTube videos of all the classes. So if you want to review what was said as a way to enhance your learning, that's available to you. If for some unforeseen reason you miss class, that's the way to make it up. So each week, Marv will send that out to you, and you can have access to it. And as far as we know, those things stay out there in the internet indefinitely, and so you can always go back and watch those.
Last year's are still there.
Yeah, last year's still there. Sometimes some other counties will ask me to come speak, and I'll say, well, I don't have time, but here's a video, you can watch that. Yeah, for years I was going around to all these counties in North Texas giving presentations, and I'm not really paid to do that, and I don't have time, so I stopped doing that. So I send them videos. So I do appreciate y'all being here. Welcome to the Master Gardener training course. I'm very excited about all the people who signed up. I think officially we have 40. I hope that everyone's here. We had one last sign up yesterday, so that's exciting. That's Wendy over here, so thank you. So thanks for all being here. Typically, the last few years, we've had about 50 to 55 students in the class. We have 40 now. This year was our first year to do the interviews. And so I think that interview helped us select the people who are really serious about it, and that's y'all. Some people who went through the interview process, they were accepted, and then they called us a few days later and said, I really thought about it after the interview, and the program's not really for me. And we always have had a percentage of the students who go through the entire class, and they were never really had any intention of volunteering, and that's our focus, is training new volunteers. So appreciate y'all being here, and hopefully you're all serious about that volunteer commitment. And I want to make sure I stay on time. I'll tend to ramble, and I'm the one that accuses myself of doing that. So let me talk about myself. So who am I? I probably didn't even say that. So I am Dr. Greg Church. I'm the County Extension Agent for Horticulture here in Collin County. So I cover just Collin County. We have about 22 or so horticulture agents, as we call ourselves, around the state of Texas. So not every county has a horticulture agent, so you're lucky. And so Denton County has one, Dallas County has one, Tarrant County has two. So we have 5 here in just the North Texas region. And that's pretty much all we have in our district, which is a 22-county region in Northeast Texas. It goes from Texarkana to Fort Worth. And so we cover all those 22 counties for our district. So my background is I grew up here in Collin County. I went to Plano schools from kindergarten to senior, 12th grade. And then I went to Stephen F. Austin State University for my bachelor's degree in biology. Graduated there and went to Texas A&M University and studied plant pathology. That's the study of diseases of plants. And I got my doctorate degree there. And then left College Station and went to Florida, worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They have a division that's called the Agricultural Research Service. So I worked for them for 3 years. Worked primarily on cut flowers, field-grown ornamentals, and vegetables. So I worked with farmers, growing those crops, developing really alternatives to methyl bromide, which was a fumigant that's been used for over 50 years. And that fumigant actually happens to be an ozone depleter. And so an international group of countries decided to phase out a lot of these ozone depleting substances. And that was called the Montreal Protocol. And so they agreed to phase out the use of those. So those farmers were dependent on that pesticide, and so we were trying to develop alternatives to it. Sadly, I think a lot of the alternatives were more toxic. But some of the alternatives were natural, organic, and methods of production. And so hopefully more of those farmers have adopted that. I know consumers are demanding more of that type because they're more interested in safe products. Then I left Florida, came back to Texas, and I was at Vernon, Chillicothe. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Vernon or Chillicothe. It's not the greatest place in the world to live, but if you're from there, I apologize. I think we do have one member that's probably from Vernon. But there's nice people out there. I worked on cotton, wheat, and alternative crops, and worked out there for several years, and then decided to move closer to family, and this job was open, so I applied for that, and that was about 10 years ago. So this is my 10th Master Gardener training class. So I've been doing it quite a while. I kind of think back to that first class and how naive I probably was. I've learned a lot, and I did little preparation for this class because I've been doing it long enough, so I feel confident. So that's enough about me. I do live in Allen, East Allen, over by Joe Farmer Rec Center. I have it's a nice neighborhood, like living in Allen. My parents live in the area, my sister and her kids too, my grandmother as well. So let's get into this. So I have a few slides about volunteerism, because the Extension Service is highly focused on volunteerism. I'm just one person trying to reach 936,000 people that are residents of Collin County, and that's an impossible job to reach those people without some help. And so essentially, that's why we recruit and train volunteers who have an interest in this and want to support us in our efforts. So we do plant sales, educational programs, we work with youth, and do all sorts of events to try to reach these people. One of our biggest things we do is partner with other groups. The cities, we partner with them. So we have someone from the city of Frisco here, Joyce Warren, and she partnered with us earlier this year to put on a newcomer's guide to gardening in Collin County and Frisco, and it was a great event, and we appreciate those type of partners that help us reach more people. So a volunteer is a person who freely offers to take part in an enterprise or undertake a task. And so we hope you join us in that effort. That volunteerism benefits both society at large and the individual volunteer by strengthening trust, solidarity, reciprocity among citizens, and by purposely creating opportunities for participation. So Extension started in 1914, so we're over 100 years old. Extension's been engaging volunteers all those years to help us accomplish our mission. We reach more people, and essentially we're trying to make more of a difference in society. And our volunteers are our best partners. So Extension has a lot of different types of volunteers. We have 4-H volunteers. How many people were 4-H members when they were kids? A few of y'all, that's good. We have Livestock Project volunteers. We have the Texas Extension Education Association. That's more of your home economics volunteers. We have Master Wellness volunteers, Master Marketers, Master Naturalists. How many Master Naturalists do we have? One, that's good. And Master Gardeners. We have Leadership Advisory Board members. Some of those are here today. Program area committees, partners, cooperators, and sponsors. So we use volunteers heavily throughout the state and the county. So it's just more of the same. We also have this random episodic volunteers. What's interesting about that is sometimes we have people just help on an occasion, and some of our best volunteers that are like that are spouses. So please welcome your spouse to come and help us. And I'm sure some of y'all have some great spouses that are willing to do that. I know that many of our Master Gardeners bring their spouse along to some of our major events, like our plant sales, our garden shows, and we do ask that you kind of notify us in advance, and we do have to have a background check on those volunteers, just a requirement. There's no charge for that. We'll fund the cost of that, and we can even get a volunteer name badge for them too. So if you have an interest in bringing your spouse to some of the events, now they wouldn't be given advice and stuff at the events. It would just be helping in a general sense. So So I wanted to kind of give you background information on really Extension and the Master Gardener program. Our agency's focused on education. Hopefully that's obvious to you. Some people sign up for Master Gardener program that don't really know what Extension is, and that's kind of the point of this presentation, to give you some background. We provide technical resources and a developmental structure for education. And we're a grassroots program. So when I talked about our committees, our advisory committees, our advisory boards, program area committees, those are all advisors for us. So we meet with them at least 3 times a year, and they give us feedback on what we need to be addressing in the county. So it's not like I decide everything that we do. We get feedback from leaders within the community, people who know what's going on, so we're always relevant to what's going on. And we are part of the Texas A&M University system. So I actually have almost 17 years working for the A&M system, and 10 years here. So within the local office, we have different extension agents. So we have an agriculture agent, family and consumer health agent. That name just changed. It used to be consumer science, but they just changed the name a few weeks ago. It used to be home economics agent also, if you're familiar with the extension service, 4-H agent, and horticulture agent. Now some of the larger counties tend to have, or even some counties have different types of agents as well. Some counties have an IPM agent that's integrated pest management, so they're an entomologist or a plant pathologist. So over in Hunt County, they have an IPM agent, and his training's in plant pathology. He works with mainly our grain producers. Unfortunately, right now we only have a 4-H agent and horticulture agent. So I'm the horticulture agent. Our 4-H agent is Amanda Parks. And they just hired a family and consumer health agent, and she starts September 11th. So that's just 2 weeks away. So we're excited about that. She's a very experienced extension professional. So she's just kind of transferring into our office from our district office. So she doesn't have to be trained or anything, so that's nice. We don't have an agriculture agent. Our agriculture agent transferred to Paris, Texas, probably a year and 4 months ago. And so we call him a trader because we worked very well with him, or I did, and we did lots of joint programming, and I was sorry to see him go. So he still works for the agency, but I wish he worked here instead of over there. So I joke that he just went there to retire, because it's a small county and not as challenging. So, okay. One thing you'll find about me is I'm sometimes brutally honest. So we do have a district office. Some of you are probably familiar with that. It's on Coit Road, just south of George Bush. The highway signs say TAMU Dallas, or Dallas TAMU, and so that's the site. We call it the Texas A&M Texas A&M AgriLife Research and Extension Center at Dallas. Or short, we just call it the Dallas Center. So if I ever call the Dallas Center, that's what I mean. And this is their website, so if you go to the website, you can say the Dallas Center, which I like because that's just simple. But if you've been by there recently, you'll notice that there's a lot of construction going on. They used to own all the property up to the turnpike, and they've sold that off over the years. And finally, the Board of Regents allowed them to use some of the proceeds of that land sale to fund a new center, which this is the kind of depiction of what it's going to look like. sadly, they didn't just build it on some of that land. They've torn down buildings and stuff that were perfectly good. So it seems like a waste to me, because we used to have some programs over there. But they'll tear down many of the buildings over there to have this nice new facility with greenhouses up on the second floor or third floor. So hopefully that proves useful for the agency. So we do have a sister agency called AgriLife Research. I actually used to work for that agency before coming here. It used to be called the Texas Agriculture Experiment Station, and it used to be called that for close to 100 years, so, or maybe not that long, but the Extension Service has changed its name lots of times. So they added this word, about 10 years ago, they added AgriLife to the research agency and Extension Service. We had a vice chancellor at the time that really liked to do this kind of thing, and so nobody liked it except probably her. Then later she was fired, so I don't know why we kept the name. So that's that brutally honest thing. So we do have specialists across the state that help support the local county extension program. Since we have an office here in our county, actually this office is right on the county line, so like half of it is in Dallas County and half of it's in Collin County. But since we have that here, we have access to numerous specialists, and many of them will be helping me to teach this class. So you'll see some doctors listed in here too, and they'll be helping as well. We have, I think, about 13 research centers and 12 extension centers. They're typically at the same place around the state of Texas. We'll have program leaders and administrators at those offices, and they help coordinate the agents, specialists, and researchers there. Some of those specialists are specialized in these different areas. And that's changed over a period of time. If someone leaves or retires, they don't always refill those positions. What's strange about Texas A&M is these specialists are also professors through the university, and when those people leave, those positions go back to the university, and then they redecide what the priority is for the university and the extension service. So sadly, people have left, and then they don't refill those positions. So that puts us at the local level in a bind, because then we don't have that support anymore. So we've lost all our turf specialists for the state of Texas. They all kind of just left at the same time. And that's a really important position. One of those specialists was here at the Dallas Center and supported us in doing research and doing education. I have been told it is a priority that they refill that position, as well as another one in College Station. So hopefully they pay them enough to make them stay. We do have Dr. Steve George. He's an ornamental horticulturalist here at the Dallas Center, and he helps support us in a lot of ways through our research program. We have several entomologists. We have no pathologists here locally, but we do have some in College Station. And we have specialists in other areas here too. These are our major program areas, and likewise we have agents in the office corresponding to those. A little bit of history, and a lot of this history is in your book, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but the Extension Service is part of the land-grant university system. So in 1862, the land-grant college and university system was created, and that's part of Texas A&M. And then in 1890, they established 13 additional colleges, and those were focused on African Americans or minorities. Prairie View A&M is Texas 1890 university, and it is actually part of the A&M system now. And we actually have a separate extension service through Prairie View A&M, which receives federal funding for that program. The Hatch Act created the Agriculture Experiment Stations, or as we call it, AgriLife Research. The first extension agent was established actually in Texas, and I think it was 1905 actually, in Tyler, Smith County. Smith-Lever Act is what actually formed the Extension Service in 1914. And so this is kind of how the land-grant university system is made up of in each state. So we have teaching, which is the university. We have research, which is AgriLife Research, or the experiment station. Then we have the extension service. The idea behind this, the extension service, is that we're supposed to extend the knowledge from the university out into the public. So we as research is conducted through our research agency, we extend that knowledge out. But practically speaking, a lot of this research that happens across the state doesn't always relate to practical things. So the Extension Service actually does a lot of applied research, which we do here at Myers Park, so we're able to teach more and learn more through the research to help the county. So we are part of the USDA system, state government, and county government. So it's a cooperative between those three levels of government. And in some way or fashion, we get some support from each of those levels of government. For the county program, I would say the county provides the most support: salaries, office space, some funding for conducting our business, travel, some funding for equipment, and so just wanted to point that out. We do have youth protection standards. Those have improved in recent years to provide a safe environment for children. And so we do background checks, which helps, but we also follow a safe environment for those youth. In addition, when we volunteer at schools, we need to go through their background check process as well and follow their rules. Now, if we were Master Gardeners, don't do overnight camps with kids, but our 4-H leaders do, and so they're required to go through an online training for child abuse prevention. So here's the staff in our office right now. So myself, the horticulture agent, we have a vacancy for our ag agent. Annie Tinsley is our new family and consumer health agent. Amanda Parks is our 4-H agent. We do have a part-time curriculum assistant position, which is vacant. Then we have an administrative assistant, Maureen Metcalf, and then Pam Donnell as well. So they help kind of run the office, and I'm sure a lot of you talk to Pam in scheduling your interview and other things. So currently Pam, whoops, fell off. Sorry about that. So currently Pam supports the horticulture program, and Maureen supports the 4-H program. Used to be that Maureen helped me and Pam helped the ag agent, but since we had a lot of staff changes, we tried to even out the workload for them. So what do volunteers do? They extend services to citizens. They're effective spokespersons. They bring organizational perspective to the program. They're able to concentrate more of their time on specific subject matter programs and jobs and tasks. I get really involved in some details on many things, but at the same time, I try to delegate a lot so that we're able to do more. I'm getting better at that rather than kind of micromanaging and doing stuff myself. I'm getting better at asking for help, which is kind of strange that I'm a volunteer coordinator and I have a hard time asking for help. So. But our leadership team within the organization is phenomenal. We have a lot of support and a lot of help to get the job done. So we do have Master Gardener associations. And so we have the Collin County Master Gardener Association. And really typically all county programs have that association that helps support the program. And they tend to be 501c3 nonprofits, which allows them some financial tools to do that. And the members are certified volunteers, and I act as an advisor for the board that oversees the association. So our objective is to expand the capabilities of Extension, disseminate that horticulture information to our community, develop community programs and projects, develop a master gardener network, and then our leadership helps with administration of the program. We have youth programs, and then we also conduct research. And so here's all my responsibilities, but y'all don't need to know that. So I do recruit and train, recruit, select, train, coordinate, fund, blah, blah, blah. So that's what we're doing now is we've recruited you, and we're going to train you, and then we're going to manage you in a way. And so I help determine activities and provide direction. Keep dropping that, sorry. So obviously, doing all this can be challenging, so I delegate some of these tasks to the board members. So to become a certified master gardener, you must complete the training course. So we want you to be here every week. I know some of you already have notified us of a conflict, and we understand. We're humans, we get sick. If you get sick, please don't come. I know one year we had those viruses going around, the flu, swine flu and stuff, and I was telling everybody, if you're sick, don't come here, please. So that's okay. We do want you to stay here for the whole class. One year I had a student who just showed up late, left early, and she thought she was fine. I said, no, you didn't do what we asked, so you can't be a master gardener. So I do take that seriously. Now, if there's an emergency, I'm a very understanding person. Just don't abuse the opportunity here. So you have until December 31st, 2018 to get 65 hours of volunteer time. And we ask you to work 6 hours of that time here at Myers Park. And 6 hours is not very long. It's just a way to introduce you to the projects out here, because these projects are important to our association, and they have a lot of impact on what we do, and we want to introduce you to that so that you might help us continue that work. We used to have you work the information center, or what we sometimes call our help desk, but then I've changed that recently, so you don't have to worry about that. And then this first intern year, you don't have to do any continuing education because you've just got over 65 hours from the class. So, but after that, after your intern year, you're considered a certified master gardener until you don't get your hours. So you have to get these hours each year. So it's 25 hours volunteer time and an additional 6 hours of continuing education. And there's lots of ways to get continuing education. You can just come back to the class and come for one day and you get all your hours. Or on October 4th, and everyone's welcome to come. We have a Master Gardener CEU day, and so you can come to that and get education hours as well. So we have very relevant, interesting topics and speakers that come in for that day, and it'll be right here on October 4th. We do ask you to sign up for that, and there is a sign up on Eventbrite, and there should be a link somewhere. We could probably send that out to you if it's not on a website. So don't miss class, don't be late, don't leave early. Participate in the learning process, and just a word about our quizzes, homeworks, and tests. They're for your benefit. They're to help you learn. They're to help hold you accountable to the learning process. It's really not about the grades. So I know some of you will start to get anxiety about that. It's not about the grades. It's about you learning. So the quizzes are about the lecture. So I'll be teaching today. So when you come in next week, we'll have a quiz first thing, and it'll be on my lecture. The homework is on the book. So hopefully that's been made clear. And then we do have an evaluation this morning. I used to call it pre-test. They thought calling it evaluation was better. So it's just to get a baseline of your knowledge. So if you do real well, it means you kind of knew a lot of the things that we're going to cover in the class. If you do poorly, that's okay too. It gives you a lot more room to learn, and you're going to improve, and it's going to make me look good. Because at the end, you're going to do really a lot better. So that's really, don't have any anxiety about that either. It's just, it's really not about you, it's about me and how well we put the program together to see how much you've learned. And obviously a test doesn't cover everything. We just try to hit the highlights, what's important. And I think that's next, if I'm done. Okay, no, I'm not done. So we do ask you to respect the title. The agency, as well as myself, take the title very seriously. We put a lot of effort into the title of Certified Texas Master Gardener, which you'll become if you complete all the requirements. We only provide unbiased, research-based information from the Extension Service or other universities or federal agencies or some private research organizations like the Noble Research Institute or Noble Foundation, if you're familiar with that. They're over in Ardmore, Oklahoma. We work well with them. So really just research-based information, and we don't want to be biased about it. And so we don't come in saying, we don't say, oh, you only can do organic stuff, or, oh, no, you only can spray stuff. You can't use this other stuff. So we got to be unbiased, provide research-based. It's not about our personal opinions. It's about providing research-based information to the public. So you may have a feeling that we only need to be recommending organic stuff, but if someone calls and said, what can I spray on this plant to kill these bugs? Well, we have to give them all the information, and they have to make the decision. How we can help them protect the environment, spray less pesticides, is to teach them about why this occurred. And through this class, hopefully you'll be able to do that. Teach them how to avoid these problems before they occur, and so that they can protect the environment. let's see, don't use your title at a place of business. So if you work at a nursery or other place, don't wear your badge. And don't be saying you're a master gardener. That's not what the point of being a master gardener about. It's not about improving your employment opportunities or your standing in the industry. It's about volunteering. And then when you're wearing the badge, you're representing our office, you're representing me, you're representing the agency. And so keep that in mind that you are representing someone else. So when your behavior and what you say and what you recommend comes back on me. So as a student, you may volunteer. After today, you can volunteer. Now the project leaders are going to have specific things that they're going to have you do, though. So if you can't go work information booth and give out all this advice because you haven't really been trained on that yet. And you can't go give presentations next week, that kind of stuff. Doubtful that you'll want to do all that, but so there's lots of things within the organization to help support. Like we have a plant sale coming up, and we always allow our students to sign up for that plant sale and help set up and volunteer. And there's lots of positions available for y'all to volunteer for that opportunity. That's October 14th. Yes, it's called the Bulb and Perennial Mart.
Setup will be the Thursday and Friday before, and we need lots of warm bodies.
Yes.
People who can move stuff.
So Nancy Harmon, she's the project lead for that. And so that's October 13th, or 12th and 13th is set up. And then the 14th is the sale. It'll be in the show barn next door. We've been having it over in the horse stall barn, which is smaller, and so we're happy to have the opportunity to be in the big barn because it's a lot more space and not as cramped. And it'll be easier for us to get the customers in and buying stuff as fast as possible. Because if you can get them in fast, and they'll buy up the stuff faster, and we make more money to help support our projects. So
Does that go towards your 65 hours?
it will. It will go towards your 65 hours. So you actually have more than a year. So the remainder of this year and all of next year to get your 65 hours. And by the way, last year was, or I should say this year, last class was so competitive about getting certified first. There's no race, there's no competition. There's no award for being first. So please, take your time and enjoy the volunteering and stuff. And before you know it, you'll have over 100 hours or 150. I think we have, I shouldn't name anybody, but I think we have some students from last year that might have several hundred hours. I haven't kept track of all that. Randy's the one that would know, so.
We probably have 5 or 6 or 7 of the ones in the last class that are above 300 hours.
Did y'all hear that? 5 or 6 that are over 300 hours, so. And typically, we don't want you to become a project lead that year, but some of these people have been really engaged and involved. You actually forget that they were an intern just a few months ago because they do such a great job. And some of them are taking on leadership roles for this next year, so we appreciate that. Leadership within the organization is really, really important. And so we hope some of you will be willing to take on some of those roles in the future. So my advice is learn as much as you can, get to know your classmates, get to know the certified master gardeners. You'll see each week there'll be regulars that come in. There'll be some that come in for continuing education. A lot of them, they're here to help. They're going to mentor you too, so they're available so you can ask them questions and they'll give you advice. Don't worry about what happens after class. Just know that it'll be meaningful and fun. Don't worry about the 65 hours because many people get those and you can do it too. Even people who work full time, they'll go through the class and they get their hours too. So, and so we're here to help. We have approximately 300 members, 292 plus y'all. So hopefully you stick with the program and become a member. Actually, as a student, you actually, in fact, become a member of the organization. So, so we're anxious to have you bring your new ideas and unique talents to a team and help us. So, with that, I think we're ready for the next step. Here's some websites that are resources, and this presentation will be available online for y'all to access. Sandy?